1977, the worst winter in a century struck the United States. Arctic cold gripped the Midwest for weeks on end. Great blizzards paralyzed cities of the Northeast. One desperate night in Buffalo, 8 people froze to death in marooned cars. Pat Bushnell was on the road that night.
Traffic just absolutely stopped. I was afraid of being stuck in the car all night long with the cold and the wind, running out of gas. And then what? I think that if we had to go through a real bad winter, just like we just went through, I think we'd have to think about moving someplace else.
Move where? The brutal Buffalo winter might become common all over the United States. Climate experts believe the next ice age is on its way. According to recent evidence, it could come sooner than anyone had expected. At weather stations in the far north, temperatures have been dropping for 30 years. Seacoasts, long free of summer ice, are now blocked year-round. According to some climatologists, within a lifetime, we might be living in the next ice age.
We had, in 1973, we had ice all over at the East Coast. The fjords, some of the ice in the fjords didn't even leave. And almost every year since, we had ice moving in and out of the fjords. So it looks like the climate has changed. It looks like it turned colder.
Since concern for our weather has increased, the park wardens now take daily records of temperatures, wind, and solar radiation. Weather data from stations all over the Arctic is collected and fed into central computers. Balloons are launched every day to monitor the winds and temperatures at high altitudes. The data shows that average temperatures in the Arctic have fallen dramatically over the last 30 years. In most locations, the drop has been about 2 degrees centigrade. At that rate, the descent to ice age temperatures could take less than 200 years. It is not only the lonely Arctic that has cooled. The whole northern hemisphere is growing steadily colder.
There is little doubt that someday the ice will return. At least 8 times in the past million years, it has advanced and retreated with clockwork regularity. If we are unprepared for the next advance, the result could be hunger and death on a scale unprecedented in all of history. What scientists are telling us now is that the threat of an ice age is not as remote as they once thought. During the lifetime of our grandchildren, Arctic cold and perpetual snow could turn most of the inhabitable portions of our planet into a polar desert.
Dr. Chester Langway is chairman of the geology department at the State University of New York, Buffalo.
We have evidence from the ice core studies that approximately 89,000 years ago, the global climate changed from one of greater warmth than today into one of glacial severity. It is possible that a tremendous volcanic event occurred, shielding the sun, cooling the Earth's temperatures, and thereby providing the explanation of the advancing glaciers. The significance of this catastrophic event is that within a 100-year period of time, that the glaciers could have re-advanced over the surface of the Earth. It is possible that we may enter into such a cold climate almost instantaneously in the very near future.
Geologists have collected enough sea cores to form a detailed history of climate during the last million years. The cores are analyzed at the Lamont Doherty Geological Laboratory of Columbia University. Dr. James Hayes leads the research.
The climatic record in these deep-sea cores tells us that there have been 8 ice ages in the last 700,000 years. It also tells us when they have occurred. This provides us with a test of various theories of the ice ages. We now have a theory that tells us that changes in the shape of the Earth's orbit act as a pacemaker for the ice age succession. Since this theory can precisely predict when ice ages occurred in the past, which can be tested against these deep-sea cores, it also can predict when ice ages will occur in the future. From this theory, we can say with confidence that we are currently heading toward another ice age.
In the winter of 1976-77, one storm after another buried the Northeast under record amounts of snow. Months of brutal cold made much of the nation seem like the Arctic. In Chicago, temperatures hovered at 19 degrees below zero. Dayton, 21 degrees below zero. Cincinnati, 25 degrees below zero. Of all the hard-hit places, Buffalo, New York provides the best lesson. That unfortunate city had 44 consecutive days of snow. The first sudden blizzard paralyzed traffic. Thousands were forced to abandon their cars and seek refuge from the storm. Some who didn't were found frozen. As the storms continued, the resources of government were strained. Snowplows had to be flown in by the Air Force. Even the National Guard couldn't keep up with the unrelenting snow. Just how long can a modern city hold out when whole regions are cut off from food and fuel? When the weather turns on us again, how thin is the margin between life and death? When the snowfall finally stopped, downtown Buffalo lay quiet and deserted. Businesses remained closed for weeks. The airport was unusable. There was no way to reach or leave the city. The mail could not go through. Supplies of food and drugs ran perilously low. Ambulances could not reach the sick. For the old and infirm, it was a time of pain and misery. Suppliers of natural gas had to put emergency plans into effect, cutting off thousands of users. Electrical utilities ordered temporary blackouts. Fire engines froze in the sub-zero cold. In the suburbs, strong winds piled the snow in drifts as high as 30 feet. Many people had to enter their homes through second-story windows. No matter how much snow was cleared, fresh storms brought in more. 500,000 workers in the United States were laid off because of fuel shortages. Hundreds died of illness made worse by the cold. Had the storms continued much longer, millions would have been in jeopardy for lack of food and fuel. The experience of 1977 leads us to imagine the disaster the future might bring. In the descent to an ice age, one severe winter would follow another. Eventually, the snows of Buffalo would never melt. Increased demand for heating fuel would trigger an energy crisis beyond anything we can imagine. Winters in Dallas and Atlanta would grow cold and icy. Snows would blanket Southern California and northern Florida. The people of Mississippi and Alabama would have to contend with old-fashioned New England winters. Icy winds would sweep the Kansas wheat fields. Colorado's summer grazing lands would resemble the Arctic tundra. In California, glaciers would advance from the Sierra Nevada toward the fertile San Joaquin Valley. Food production would plummet. Prices would soar out of sight. Every winter, the line of year-round snow would move further and further south. If the catastrophic event of 89,000 years ago repeats itself, the ice could return within a single lifetime. If an ice age is coming, what can we do to stop it? Nuclear energy might be used to loosen polar ice caps. Sea ice could be melted by covering it with black soot to increase the absorption of sunlight. Dr. Stephen Schneider is a climatologist from the National Center for Atmospheric Research.
Can we do these things? Yes. But will they make things better? I'm not sure. We can't predict with any certainty what's happening to our own climatic future. How can we come along and intervene then in that ignorance? You could melt the ice caps. What would that do to the coastal cities? The cure could be worse than the disease. Would that be better or worse than the risk of an ice age?
If the polar ice melted completely, sea level would rise 180 feet. New Orleans, San Francisco, and New York would be submerged. Clearly, one of the future's great problems will be to survive the next ice age. Earth, water, air, and ice comprise a delicate system in which everything is connected to everything else.
It's the interaction between people and climate that worry me the most, because with everyone jammed in countries, locked in national boundaries, a change in climate means a redistribution of where the rain is, where the growing seasons are. My worst fear is that the climate could induce a change in some country that would be devastating to their local survivability, and that would lead them to desperate acts that could drag everybody else down.
In the past, weather disasters have fostered a spirit of mutual concern. When drastic changes in our climate occur, hopefully, the same acts of courage and cooperation will prevail.
Flames above the rooftops, ash raining from the sky, homes on fire in the West Midlands. Britain is recording its fifth heatwave of the year with 38.1 degrees Celsius. 6 homes destroyed in Stourbridge, fires simultaneously in Birmingham, Norfolk, Worcestershire, and Stoke-on-Trent. One fire chief called it some of the most challenging conditions of his 28-year career. The country is now confronting a new summer reality. A series of fast-moving wildfires fueled by record-breaking heat has torn through parts of the United Kingdom, destroying homes, forcing evacuations, and overwhelming emergency services as temperatures climb to 38.1 degrees Celsius, the hottest day of the year. The worst destruction was reported in Stourbridge, in England's West Midlands, where a grass fire that began near a golf course rapidly spread into residential streets. At least 6 homes were destroyed, while a child and 3 firefighters were taken to hospital. Authorities say the injuries are not believed to be life-threatening. Around 100 firefighters battled the blaze, which scorched approximately 40 acres of land and prompted a major incident declaration. Residents described scenes of panic as flames leapt from gardens to rooftops, while thick black smoke blanketed neighborhoods and ash rained across surrounding communities.
We could see the flames above the rooftops of the houses. That was how high the flames were. We just watched them getting closer and closer.
Fire crews say the blaze remains under control, but residents have been warned not to return to affected areas as hotspots continue to burn. The Stourbridge wildfire was only one of several major fires reported across Britain. Emergency services also responded to large blazes in Stratford-upon-Avon, Sandyford in Stoke-on-Trent, Castlevale in Birmingham, Pershore in Worcestershire, and Mousehold Heath in Norfolk. In Worcestershire, around 30 properties were evacuated after several homes were damaged and roughly 200 households lost electricity. Smoke from one wildfire became so dense that part of the M6 motorway near Birmingham had to be temporarily closed. Fire authorities say they faced thousands of emergency calls as multiple incidents unfolded simultaneously across England. The fires come during Britain's 5th heatwave of the year, with prolonged drought and exceptionally dry vegetation, creating ideal conditions for rapidly spreading wildfires. Meteorologists say temperatures reached 38.1 degrees Celsius at Kew Gardens in London, making it the 5th hottest day ever recorded in the United Kingdom.
These have been some of the most challenging conditions ever seen in my 28 years of service. The devastation is extensive.
Witnesses described flames racing through hedgerows, fences and rooftops within minutes as powerful winds accelerated the spread of the fire. One resident said ash had been falling from the sky for hours, while another compared the inferno to something from a horror movie. Officials say emergency crews are continuing to monitor hotspots as investigations begin into how several of the fires started. The extreme conditions also disrupted transport across the country, with heat believed to have contributed to infrastructure failures, including the derailment of a Southern Railway passenger train near Lewis that left 20 people in hospital. The Fire Brigades Union has warned that Britain now faces an increasing wildfire threat, saying thousands more firefighters are needed as climate-driven heat waves become more frequent. With exceptionally high temperatures expected to persist and vegetation remaining tinder dry, authorities are urging the public to avoid open flames, follow fire safety advice, and remain alert as emergency services continue battling fires across the country.
I was actually playing golf here on the golf course at around about 1:30, and the group I was playing with and myself spotted the fire starting in the farmer's field to the left of the course, adjacent to the course. And I called through to the office to get the emergency services out, who were brilliant, and they tended the fire, but the fire spread so quickly across through the hedgerows onto the golf course itself, really fueled by the wind. It was very windy yesterday, and it pushed the fire across the golf course really quickly and set fire to some woodland. The fire then changed direction, and it blew the fire up into the housing area at Outage on Lane and Quarry Park Road. And as we know, it's destroyed a lot of housing over there.
We thought we were okay, and my daughter she came over to visit us upstairs. I heard her scream, and all the trees along the railway track were exploding. They weren't just setting fire, they were exploding. So we just grabbed everything and left. And our house is still standing, but all the garden, all the wall garden, everything's gone. And unfortunately, our neighbour, who's just spent a fortune renewing his house, that's gone. Yeah, and we've been very, very lucky. At the moment, the house is still standing, and it's just superficial, well, garden, trees and things that can be replaced. Yeah, a lot of houses at the back of us have gone. It was really, really scary. It was the speed in which the fire spread, which was the most scary part about it. But when we got off the course and back up to the golf club itself, a lot of people had been evacuated from homes, and many of them came to seek refuge at the golf club itself until, of course, that was closed and evacuated. And then the whole of yesterday,
was really all about the fire services and the emergency services trying to save property. Thankfully, I believe nobody's been seriously hurt, which is amazing considering the scale of the issue.